when there's romance and there's witches and there's cottages, those three things, those are all me right there. The synopsis says, a boy moves to a Halloween themed town. You read that right, half vampire in a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Welcome to the intoxicating world of the Fae, claiming the only way to break that bond is to kill her sister. Is this gonna be some forbidden love type of trope? I'm here for it. And then the impossible happens. Rachel Price reappears and life will never be normal again. I mean, can we blame her? I would do the same. They had me at sweater shop owner, honestly. I just wanna jump into this cover and live there. If you don't have a candle burning while you're reading or talking about books, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Just candles and books just go together. I didn't make the rules. That's just how it goes. I'm gonna set my candle, maybe, no, I wanna be looking at it. Looking at burning candles it calms my nervous system. I don't know why. They just look so peaceful and so beautiful, and it makes me relax. It makes me concentrate on what I'm talking about. Or if I'm reading, I love a candle. Just gonna get comfortable here. Hello you guys, welcome back to another video here on my channel. It is time to talk about some books. I'm coming back to you guys with a highly anticipated video that a lot of you wanted me to make. I did a part 1, I'll have it linked down below. This is part 2 to my 2024 most anticipated book releases. I will say it again, like I said in my first video, the best way to get excited about a new year is to look forward to all the books that are releasing in 2024. You know, New Year's are exciting. They're also very hard. Some of us are eager for the year to end because we haven't had the greatest year, and some of us want to hold a little bit longer. So whatever the case might be, whether you're anticipating 2024 or not, or you're excited for the new year or not, let me at least get you excited for some things that are happening in the new year, and that is a whole bunch of amazing books. Ladies and gentlemen, the best award for best husband goes to my husband. He brings me coffee every day. Thanks, babe. You know the coffee's good when I start doing my happy dance. But let me back it up for a little bit. If you are new here, hello. Welcome to my channel, A Life of Poetry. My name is Kim. I am an author, illustrator, and here on my channel, I like to make cozy and intentional videos about writing, about books, and just lifestyle. So if you're new here and that all sounds like your jam, then feel free to hit the subscribe button. Currently right now I am posting videos every Tuesday and Saturday so far. So you guys are getting 2 videos from me every week, which I have been loving and enjoying making. So back to the star of the video and what we're here for. I have curated another 2024 anticipated book releases. And when I say anticipated book releases, okay, these are my anticipated book releases. These are not anticipated book releases credited by, like, I don't know, websites and news outlets or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure some of them are, but my information is just coming from researching and reading the book description and the synopsis, and if it sounds like something that I would be interested in, then I'm adding it to the list. So this is my anticipated book releases. So on that note, if you don't know the type of books that I am into, I have a pretty broad spectrum of books that I love reading. I enjoy reading murder mysteries. I enjoy reading cozy books. I enjoy reading fantasy and fiction, some contemporary as well. I also love self-help books, as well as graphic novels, YA, middle grade. So I would say that this list that I have here is pretty broad in that department. I have here cozy murder mystery. I have here some contemporary fiction. I have here some short stories. I love a good short story. I have here some fantasy. Actually, I have a lot of fantasy, like a lot. And I have here one middle grade that I want to share. So I have here 20 books for 2024 anticipated book releases. So if you guys want to get excited about 2024, go ahead and grab something cozy and warm to drink, a blanket, and just some snacks, and let's get into the video. I'm actually gonna move my candle back here. I feel like that will look kind of cozy since it's burning in the background. I am starting off with some cozy murder mysteries or just mystery thrillers. By the way, if I'm looking down here, it's because I have my handy dandy computer where I have all my notes. So the first one that I have on here, it is Murder at the Scottish Castle by Tracy Hall. This is coming out January 23rd, and this is a cozy murder mystery. I think this is going to be one of those like little small books. I don't know if you guys ever, like at your local bookshop or like at Barnes and Nobles, you guys go through like the murder mystery section, and there's a section where they have like the little tiny books, and they're all like murder mysteries, and there's like sometimes like a whole series of each one of those books. But I think it's going to be one of those, and I absolutely love those type of books because one of my all-time favorite books that is a murder mystery is, actually let me get it, it's these are the little small books that I'm talking about. This is one of my all-time favorite books. It is In the Company of Witches, and this is an Evenfall Witches bed and breakfast mystery. So this is what I'm talking about. So I think this one, Murder at the Scottish Castle by Tracy Hall, is going to be one of these like little small books, and this is like the first one in the series. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more, but as soon as I read Scottish and then Castle, I was like, yes, I don't even care, let's add it to the list. So it says here, sweater shop owner. I'm already intrigued. Paisley Shaw never feels more at home in Scotland than when she hears the bagpipes, but a murder is about to introduce a sour note. With the summer days getting shorter in the seaside village of Narn, the annual bagpiping competition at Ramsey Castle promises to be quite the end of season blowout. Paisley has snagged a special invitation from the Dowager Countess, who wants to showcase her cashmere goods in the castle gift shop, and she's brought her son Brody, Grandpa, and their black Scottish terrier Wallace. There's a fierce rivalry between Robert Grant, the Earl of Lyon, and last year's winner Jory Baxter, with Grant loudly vowing to show up, the blowhard Baxter and claim clan bragging rights. But the reigning champion has barely put the reed to his lips when he turns red and collapses, soon to take his dying breath. Di Zephyr suspects foul play. With a possible murder in their midst, the rest of Narn won't breathe easy until Paisley applies her sleuthing skills to make sure justice is served and the killer pays the piper. Okay, that sounds cool. They had me at sweater shop owner, honestly. Okay, moving on. I have another little small murder mystery book such as this one, like this size. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be that size. And that is Bogs, Brews, and Banshees, a Sky O'Shea paranormal cozy mystery. And this is coming out November 8th of 2024, so it's pretty out there, but hey, at least you'll guys have hopefully something to look forward to like the entire year. So the synopsis says, Miami, Florida, Sky Bridget O'Shea is desperate for an escape. Losing big in a nasty divorce and taking the fall for a patient's death, the stressed out 32-year-old jumps at the chance to move to Ireland after inheriting her grandmother's bed and breakfast. I mean, can we blame her? I would do the same. But the nosy American quickly lands back in the hot water when she investigates unearthly howls and discovers the disagreeable local she argued with earlier stone cold dead. Named as the prime suspect, Sky finds herself relying on the constable's wife and the cryptic clues from her grand's talking black cat to clear her name. Talking black cat? Yes. But when her ancestor's diary points to a supernatural culprit, the ex-nurse isn't sure if she's cracked the case or lost her mind. Can this novice detective overcome a rival pub owner, a dogged policeman, and a thick web of ancient myths to stay out of the slammer? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Okay, the next one that I have on here is actually a YA mystery thriller, and this is Girls Who Burn by M.K. Pagano. This is coming out August 6th. The little blurb on here says, a twisty, pulse-pounding enemies to lovers thriller full of secrets, privilege, and murder. Isn't that always the case? Secrets, privilege, murder. I feel like the secrets, the privilege leads to murder sometimes. It says here, the summer before her senior year, Addie hurled the worst words she could think of at her sister, and hours later, Fiona was found dead at the bottom of a ravine. The police ruled her death as an accident, but Addie has never bought it. Her ballad prodigy sister didn't slip and fall. She was pushed, and Addie's #1 suspect, Thatcher Montgomery, the rich boy down the street who always had a thing for Fiona. What did I say? Privilege. No one believes her, least of all Thatcher's cousin Seth. Addie's childhood rival and the boy she's always loved to hate. Arguing with Seth is easy. Living with her own questionable choices involving Seth the night Fiona died, much harder. But when 1 year later, Thatcher is found dead. Okay, so it wasn't Thatcher. But 1 year later, when Thatcher was found dead at the bottom of the same ravine, Addie is forced to admit she was wrong. To catch the real killer, she'll have to seek help from the only one she can trust, the boy she was with during both murders. As Addie and Seth dodge corrupt police and his even more corrupt family, Addie will have to decide if her growing bond with Seth is stronger than familial ties and their link will keep her safe, or turn her into the next victim. Dun dun dun. Okay, the next book that I have on here in the mystery thriller category is, I don't have a book cover for this. I looked and looked and I don't think there's one out, but this is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. Riley Sager is actually an author that I really enjoy. I read The Last One Left, The Only One Left. I read that in October. And it was really good. I give 4 stars out of 5 and I really enjoyed it. I think Riley Sager is a really great writer. When I was reading The Only One Left, it just made me want to continue reading, so that's always a plus. So again, this is called Middle of the Night. This is coming out June 18th and it is labeled as a horror thriller adult fiction book. Synopsis says, the worst thing to ever happen on Hemlock Circle occurred in Ethan Marsh's backyard. One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend and neighbor, Billy, fell asleep in a tent set up on a manicured lawn in a quiet, quaint New Jersey cul-de-sac. What does cul-de-sac mean? Cul-de-sac.
It's like a court. You know, it's like a court. It's like a court. A cul-de-sac is a court.
I hit the jackpot, guys. He makes great coffee and he knows what cul-de-sac is. A street or passage that is closed at one end. Cul-de-sac. So it's like a fancy word for court?
Yeah.
Okay, I learned something new today. Back to the synopsis. Someone seems to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keeps appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank? Or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow returned to Hemlock Circle? The mysterious occurrence prompts Ethan to investigate what really happened that night, a quest that reunites him with former friends and neighbors and leads him into the woods that surround Hemlock Circle. Woods where Billy claimed monsters roamed and where a mysterious institute does clandestine, whatever that is, research on a crumbling estate. The closer Ethan gets to the truth, the more he realizes that no place, be it quiet forest or suburban street, is completely safe, and that the past has a way of haunting the present. Okay, that sounds really interesting. Like, I'm for sure going to read that one. The next one here on my list is actually an author that I've been meaning to get into. This is the same author of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I've been meaning to read that series, but I haven't gotten around to it. This book that's coming out though is not related to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, so this is like a separate book. This is called The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This is set to come out April 2nd and it is labeled as a YA mystery thriller. The synopsis says, lights, camera, lies. 18-year-old Belle has lived her whole life in the shadow of her mom's mysterious disappearance. 16 years ago, Rachel Price vanished and young Belle was the only witness, but she has no memory of it. Rachel is gone, long presumed dead, and Belle wishes everyone would just move on. But the case is dragged up from the past when the Price family agrees to a true crime documentary. Belle can't wait for the filming to end, for life to go back to normal, and then the impossible happens. Rachel Price reappears and life will never be normal again. Rachel has an unbelievable story about what happened to her. Unbelievable because Belle isn't sure it's real. If Rachel is lying, then where has she been all this time? And could she be dangerous? With the camera still rolling, Belle must uncover the truth about her mother and find out why Rachel Price really came back from the dead. Okay, that one also sounds really good. See, I told you guys, a lot of books to be excited about in 2024. So that was it for all the murder mystery thriller books. Moving on to contemporary fiction, which is a category that I don't usually read that much, but if there's something that catches my eye, I will add it to my TBRs. I only have 2 in this category. The first one that I have on here is Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame by Olivia Ford. This is coming out January 30th. I read that this feels cozy because it's about food, and I don't know, anytime there's a story where there's food mentioned, I just automatically feel like it's super cozy. Little blurb on here says, a huge-hearted, redemptive coming-of-old-age tale, a love story, and an ode to good food. Who doesn't love good food? I know I do. I love reading about food. I feel like a lot of beautiful conversations happen around food. I feel like food brings people together. I just love food, y'all. I really love food. The synopsis says, nothing can be more out of character, but after 59 years of marriage, as her husband Bernard's death declines and her friends' lives become focused on their grandchildren, which Jenny never had, Jenny decides she wants a little something for herself. So she secretly applies to be a contestant on the prime-time TV show Britain Bakes. Whisked into an unfamiliar world of cameras and timed challenges, Jenny delights in a newfound independence. But that independence and the stress of competition starts to unearth memories buried decades ago. Chocolate tea cakes remind her of a furtive errand involving a wedding ring. Sugared donuts call up a stranger's kind act. A simple cottage loaf brings back the moments her life changed forever. With her baking star rising, Jenny struggles to keep a lid on that first secret, a long-concealed deceit that threatens to shatter the very foundation of her marriage. It's the only time in 6 decades that she's kept something from Bernard. By putting herself in the limelight, has Jenny created a recipe for disaster? That sounds yummy, and that sounds like it's going to be very, very exciting to read. The next one that I have on here, I am so happy that I came across this particular book. I've never read anything from this author, but this is a fellow Latinx author. This is Canto Contigo by Johnny Garza Villa. This is coming out April 9th. Y'all, can we please take a moment to admire this beautiful cover? Like, look at this cover. It is so gorgeous. You have the mariachi ensemble. I love the colors. For folks who don't know what mariachi is a music category in Latin culture. And like what these characters are wearing is sort of staples to what a mariachi singing uniform sort of looks like. Genres of this book are YA, contemporary, LGBTQ, romance, and the synopsis says, in a 24-hour span, Rafael Alvarez led North Amistad High School's Mariachi Alma de la Frontera to their 11th consecutive first place win in the Mariachi Extravaganza de Nacional, and made out with, and almost hooked up with one of the cutest guys he's ever met. Now 8 months later, Rafi's ready for one final win. What he didn't plan for is his family moving to San Antonio before his senior year, forcing him to leave behind his group while dealing with the loss of the most important person in his life, his beloved abuelo. Oh my gosh. When there's talk about grandparents, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Another hitch in his plan. The Selena Quintanilla Perez Academy's mariachi Todos Colores already has a lead vocalist. What? Selena Quintanilla Perez Academy? Okay, I would love for that to actually be real. Like, if y'all know who Selena Quintanilla is, come on. That would be really cool if there was an academy, a mariachi academy for that. What? That is such a good idea. Okay. The Selena Quintanilla Perez Academy's mariachi Todos Colores already has a lead vocalist, Ray Chavez, the boy Rafi made out with, who now stands between him winning and being the great mariachi Rafi's abuelo always believed him to be. Despite their newfound rivalry for center stage, Rafi can't squash his feelings for Ray. Now he must decide between the people he's known his entire life or the one just starting to get to know the real him. Oh, it says here, Canto Contigo is a love letter to Mexican culture, family, and legacy, the people who shape us and allowing ourselves to forge our own path. At its heart, this one of the most glorious rivals to lovers romance about finding the one who challenges you in the most extraordinary ways. I feel like I'm gonna get really teary-eyed with this book. I love books that center my culture. I love seeing the representation. I just love my culture so much. There's so many beautiful aspects. There's so much triumph and loss, and I think all of that is so beautiful that shape the people of my culture. I could just talk about that forever. So those are the only 2 contemporary fiction novels that I have on my list. Now moving on to short story collection. Listen, y'all, I love a good short story because they're short and you get a pretty good variety of a whole bunch of stories in one book. So I feel like you get a lot more bang for your buck because you're introduced to so many different stories in one book. So the first one that I have on here is called 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart and Other Stories by Jenna Rose Nethercott. This is coming out February 6th. This is actually the author that wrote Thistlefoot, which I have somewhere in my bookshelf over here. I actually read that novel, I think, in September, and I really loved it. I think Thistlefoot is a I think it's a Russian folktale about Baba Yaga, the witch Baba Yaga, and I just love folktales. I love retellings of folktales. So this is by the same author. The little blurb on here says, from the author of the breakout fantasy novel Thistlefoot, a collection of dark fairy tales and fractured folktale exploring all the ways love can save us or go monstrously wrong. Synopsis says, the stories in 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart are about the abomination that resides within us all. That churning, clawing, hungry, the desire to be loved and seen and known, and the terror of choosing things to be loved too well or not enough, or for long enough, to be laid bare before your sweetheart, to their horror, to be known and recognized as the monstrous things you are. Two young women working at a sinister roadside attraction called the Eternal Staircase explore its secrets in their own doomed summer love. A group of witchy teens concoct the perfect plan to induce the hated new girl into their ranks. A woman moves into a new house with her acclaimed artist boyfriend and finds her body slowly shifting into something specially constructed to accommodate his needs and whims. And two outcasts, a vampire and a goat woman, find solace in each other, even as the world's lack of understanding might bring about its own end. That sounds amazing. I'm so excited for this book. The second short story collection that I have on here is The Black Girls Survive in This One. And these are edited by Desiree S. Evans and Sarasi J. Fennell. And this is coming out April 2nd. Categories of this one is horror, YA, short stories, contemporary. Synopsis says, celebrating a new generation of best-selling and acclaimed Black writers, The Black Girl Survives in This One makes space for Black girls in horror. 15 chilling and thought-provoking stories place Black girls front and center as heroes and survivors who slay monsters, battle spirits, and face down death. Prepare to be terrified and left breathless by the pieces in this anthology. I love a good centering of POC characters who are not only survivors, but who are also heroes of their own lives, of their own stories, who take the lead in their own lives. So I'm super excited for this one. All right, moving on to the next category that I have on here is fantasy. This one in particular that I have on here first is a romance fantasy, and this is called An Enchanting Case of Spirits by Melissa Holtz, and this is coming out April 9th. Synopsis says, Alyssa Mann isn't adventurous, not since her husband died, and she found herself the single mom of a teenage daughter. But there's no way to avoid celebrating the big 4-0. So when her best friend drags her out for drinks and a tarot reading, she throws caution to the wind and decides to see what the spirits have to say. It's all fun and games until she wakes up the next morning with a wicked hangover and a ghost perched on the edge of her bed. Listen, y'all, if you guys have been here for a while on my channel, you guys know that I love tarot cards. I love oracle cards. I actually even designed my own little tarot deck by Row House Publishing, but that's neither here nor there. But I just have a fascination about tarot and learning tarot. I think it's just a beautiful and great tool. So any book that has to do with tarot or incorporates tarot, I'm here for it. And even better if it includes tarot cards and ghosts. Call me weird or whatever, but that is a plus. Sheer panic sends her running to get help from Nick West, the very attractive detective who lives next door. When he finds no one inside, Alyssa has to accept that she really did see a ghost. As the dearly departed keep appearing, Alyssa and her friends do their best to learn how to control her newfound power. Trading insults with ghosts, tracking down family heirlooms, and getting close to the skeptical but helpful Nick is more fun than Alyssa imagined. But when looking into one's ghost's past reveals unexpected and unwelcome facts about Alyssa's late husband's death, she discovers she just may be in over her head. And that sounds like something that's gonna keep me on my toes. Okay, the next one that I have here on my fantasy category is by an author that I have read before. This is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This is coming out April 9th. I have read Leigh Bardugo before. I've read The Ninth House. Is it The Ninth House? I read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I heard the audiobook. I didn't actually read the physical book. I do have the physical book, but I decided to just listen to the audiobook, and I honestly did not super love it. I don't know if it was just the narrator that I just didn't like. I feel like the story was good because I actually love dark academia book settings, and Ninth House was a dark academia book setting, so I might give it another try because I've heard a lot of good things about Leigh Bardugo in general. Like, her books are just really good. I feel like The Familiar might fall under a sort of dark academia category, or at least the cover of this book, which is gorgeous by the way, gives off dark academia vibes. So the genres of this book is historical fiction, fantasy, adult, romance. And the synopsis says, in a shabby house on shabby street in the new capital of Madrid, Lucia Cotado uses scraps of magic to get through her days of endless toil as a scullion. But when her scheming mistress discovers the lump of a servant cowering in the kitchen is actually hiding a talent for little miracles, she demands Lucia use those gifts gifts to better the family's social position. What begins as simple amusement for the bored nobility takes a perilous turn when Lucia garners the notion of Antonio Perez, the disgraced secretary to Spain's king. Still reeling from the defeat of his armada, the king is desperate for any advantage in the war against England's heretic queen, and Perez will not stop at nothing to regain the king's favor. Determined to seize this one chance to better her fortunes, Lucia plunges into a world of seers and alchemists, holy men and huskers, where the line between magic, science, and fraud is never certain. But as her notoriety grows, so does the danger that her Jewish blood will doom her to the Inquisitor's wrath. She will have to use every bit of her wit and will to survive, even if that means enlisting the help to Guillén Santangel, something like that, an embittered immortal familiar whose own secrets could prove deadly for them both. I am not a super huge fan of historical fiction. I just haven't had the best luck with historical fiction in the past, but I am willing to give historical fiction another go in 2024. So the next fantasy book that I have on here is called Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan, and this is coming out February 27th. And genres of this book are fantasy, mythology, high fantasy, and adult. And the synopsis says, welcome to Tiankawi, shining pearl of human civilization and a safe haven for those fleeing civil unrest, or at least that's how it first appears. But in the semi-flooded city, humans are quite literally on peering down from skyscrapers and aerial walkways on the Fathom folk, sirens, sea witches, kelpies, and kappas who live in polluted waters below. For half siren Mira, promotion to captain of the border guard means an opportunity to reform. At last she has the ear of the city council and a chance to lift the repressive laws that restrict Fathom folk at every turn. But if earning the trust and respect of her human colleagues wasn't hard enough, everything Mira has worked towards is put in jeopardy when a water dragon is exiled to the city. New arrival Nami is an aristocratic water dragon with an opinion on everything. Frustrated by the lack of progress from Mira's softly approach in gaining equality, Nami throws her lot in with an anti-human extremist group, leaving Mira to find the headstrong youth before she makes everything worse. And pulling strings behind everything is Cordelia, a second-generation sea witch determined to do what she must to survive and to see her family flourish, even if it means climbing over the bodies of her competitors. Her political game playing and underground connections could disrupt everything Nami and Mira are fighting for. When the extremists sabotage the annual boat race, violence erupts, as does the clampdown on Fathom folks' rights. Even Nami realizes her new friends are not what they seem. Both she and Mira must decide if the cost of change is worth it or if the Tiankawi should be left down. Okay, this one sounds really good. I love anything that has to do with mermaids and sea witches and dragons. Okay, that sounds really interesting. The next book that I have here on this list in fantasy is So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole, and this is coming out January 16th. Genres of this book are fantasy, YA, and LGBTQ. The synopsis says, Farron Vincent can channel the power of the gods. 5 years ago, she used her divine magic to liberate her island from its enemies, the dragon-riding Langley Empire. But now at 17, Farron is all powered up with no worse to fight. She's a legend to her people and a nuance to her neighbors. When she's forced to attend an international peace summit, Farron expects that she will perform tricks like a trained pet and then go home. She doesn't expect her older sister, Elara, forming an unprecedented bond with an enemy dragon, or the gods claiming the only way to break that bond is to kill her sister. As Farron's desperation to find another solution takes her down a dark path, and Elara discovers the shocking secrets at the heart of the Langley Empire, both must make difficult choices that will shape each other's lives as well as the fate of their world. I love a good sister rivalry type of plot, so I'm excited for this one. Okay, the next book that I have on here, this is one of my runner-up as far as book covers go. Y'all know that I am a sucker for beautiful covers, and this one is one of them. This is called The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields, and this is coming out May 15th. You guys, this cover is giving me all the cottagecore vibes that I love. I just want to live in this cover. I just want to grab and just Genres of this book are fantasy, LGBTQ, romance, witches. Synopsis says, 21-year-old Marigold Claude has always preferred the company of the spirits of the meadow to any of the suitors who tried to woo her. So when her grandmother whisks her away to the family cottage on the tiny isle of Innisfree with an offer to train her as the next honey witch, she accepts immediately, but her newfound magic and independence comes with a no one can fall in love with the honey witch. Is this gonna be some forbidden love type of trope? I'm here for it. When Lottie Burke, a notorious grumpy skeptic who doesn't believe in magic, shows up on her doorstep, Marigold can resist the challenge to prove to her that magic is real. But soon Marigold begins to care for Lottie in ways she never expected. And when darker magic awakens and threatens to destroy her home, she must fight for much more than her new home, at the risk of losing her magic and her heart. Okay, you guys, when there's romance and there's witches, and there's cottages, those three things, those are all me right there. I love all that. The next book that I have here on my list is A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. This is coming out February 20th. The genres of this book is fantasy, vampires, it is YA, and it is historical, which we already went through this. Historical is not my best genre that I love, but we're gonna give this a chance because it actually sounds good. And also I read that this is perfect for fans of Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows, which again, I have not read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. The only one I've read is Ninth House, but I've heard great things. I would read Six of Crows. Therefore, that means that I would read A Tempest of Tea. The synopsis says, on the streets of White Roaring, Arthi Casimir is a criminal mastermind and a collector of secrets. Her prestigious tea room transforms into an illegal bloodhouse by dark catering to the vampires feared by society. But when her establishment is threatened, Arthi is forced to strike an unlikely deal with an alluring adversary to save it, and she can't do the job alone. Calling upon a band of misfits, Arthi formulates a plan to infiltrate the dark and glittering vampire society known as Aetherium. But not every member of her crew is on her side, and as the truth behind the heist unfolds, Arthi finds herself in the midst of a conspiracy that will threaten the world as she knows it. Okay, that alone, can we have this book? When does this come out again? Okay, February 20th. Okay, the next one that I have on here is called The City of Stardust by Georgina Summers. This is coming out January 30th, and this is a fantasy, adult romance, and science fiction fantasy novel. Synopsis says, the Everly family is cursed. Every generation is destined to lose their best and brightest, taken by a woman named Penelope, who never ages, never sickens, and never forgives a debt. When her mother vanishes in the middle of the night, the curse falls on Violet Everly, unless she can break it first. To do so, she must descend into a seductive, magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods, and monsters bent on revenge. And at the edge of the world, she'll find the City of Stardust, where the Everly story began. Okay, power-hungry scholars and fickle gods and monsters bent on revenge. I already know I'm gonna come out of this book hating someone. So I don't know, read at your own risk, Kim. The next fantasy book that I have here on my list, honestly, fantasy is like the list that I have that is the longest. Y'all already know. I read a lot of fantasy. I love fantasy. It's just so easy for me to consume. But this next cover here, this is another one of my runner-up that I absolutely love. It's giving me, again, all that cottagecore vibes that I just want to jump into this cover and live there. This is called The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and this is coming out July 9th. Please admire the cover, see it, feel it. It's just so beautiful. But what got me, it wasn't just the cover. It says here, perfect for fans of Travis Baldree. Y'all know who Travis Baldree is. He is the author of Legends and Lattes, the low stakes, cozy, comfy book that we all fell in love with. What was it, last year? So it says perfect for fans of Travis Baldree and TJ Klune. And one of my all-time favorite books is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. That book made me cry. And also the blurb on here, it says, The Spell Shop is a cottagecore cozy fantasy following a woman's unexpected journey through the low-stakes market of illegal spell selling and the high-risk business of starting over. Listen, you guys, if you guys ever want to read something that is easy and easily consumable and you just don't want to try that hard at life and things have just been really hard lately and you just want to catch a break, read some low-stakes cozy fantasy, please. That is usually my go-to pick-me-up in books is reading some low stakes, cottagecore, cozy fantasy type of book. The synopsis here says, Kyla has always had trouble dealing with people, and as a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she hasn't had to. She and her assistant Kaz, a sentient spider plant, have spent most of the last 11 years sequestered among the Empire's precious spellbooks, protecting the magic for the city's elite. But a revolution is brewing, and when the library goes up in flames, she and Cass steal whatever books they can and flee to the faraway island where she grew up. She's hoping to lay low and figure out a way to survive before the revolution comes looking for her. To her dismay, in addition to a nosy and very handsome neighbor, she finds the town in disarray. The Empire with its magic spellbooks has slowly been draining power from the island, something that Kyla is indirectly responsible for. And now she's determined to find a way to make things right. Opening up a spell shop comes with its own risks. The consequence of sharing magic with commanders is death. And as Kyla comes to make a place for herself among the quirky townspeople, she realizes that in order to make a life for herself, she must break down the walls she has kept so high. That already sounds like I already love this book. 5 stars already in my head. Moving on, we have Feybound by Sarah L. Arifi. This is coming out January 18th, and the genres of this book are fantasy, adult, LGBTQ, fae, and romance. Fairies, romance, yes please. The synopsis says, divided by blood, imprisoned by fate, bound by desire. Welcome to the intoxicating world of the fae. You guys, strap on for this one. The synopsis says, Yuran is a warrior in the elven army and has known nothing but violence her whole life. Her sister, Lettel, is trying to make a living as a diviner, seeking prophecies for a better future. When a fatal mistake leads to Yuran's exile from the elven lands, they are both forced into the terrifying wilderness beyond their borders. There they encounter the impossible, the Fae court. The Fae haven't been seen for a millennium, but now Yuran and Lettel are thrust into their seductive world, torn between their loyalty to each other, their elven homeland, and their hearts. This sounds really good. If you are a fan of probably ACOTAR, you're probably gonna really like this. So I would say put Feybound in your TBR for actually January. This comes out in January, so very early on in 2024. Okay, the next one that I have on here is actually a retelling, and I love a good fairy tale, old story type of retelling. This is Born of Blood and Thorns, a Beauty and the Beast retelling by Riley Hunt. This is coming out May 22nd, and this is a fantasy romance novel. This book says, break the curse, save a kingdom. Blamed for her shattered kingdom, half vampire, you read that right, half vampire in a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Isabella just got a dire ultimatum from her vampire prince father. Unwilling to embrace eternal darkness as a vampire, Isabella flees pursued by Gideon, the merciless alpha wolf who wants to claim her as his own. Isabella chooses neither. She flees into the dangerous forbidden woods, pursued by Gideon and his pack. Fate leads her straight into the claws of the red dragon Lore, her enemy and her salvation. Despite her initial disdain, Isabella finds herself drawn to Lore, unraveling the mysterious surrounding him. In a risky alliance, she agrees to help him free his kingdom, only to discover the chilling curses serve as a purpose. Trapped in an ancient curse, Lore watches as his humanity slowly fades. By night, he prowls the skies in his beastly form, burdened by the unbreakable curse that plagues his once glorious realm. Okay. They are drawn to one another in a risky alliance. They decide to free his kingdom, only to discover the chilling truth. The price they'll have to pay is higher than they imagined. It might cost them everything. Born of Blood and Thorns is one of 10 books in the Enemies Ever After series. Oh, this is gonna be a series, you guys. A collection of standalone short novels featuring enemies to lover, fairy tale retellings with a touch of steam. Okay, so that was it for all my fantasy ones. Yeah, I had I think like 10 or 9 in there. Like I said, I read a lot of fantasy. And the last book that I have on here, it is actually a middle grade novel. Listen, you guys, I read middle grade. I love reading middle grade books. I think it is a great way to get in touch with your younger self, with your inner child. There is something about reading middle grade and graphic books that just makes me feel like a little kid again, and like nothing else is that important besides me and this little book right here that I'm reading. And I love reading middle grade books. When I read middle grade novels, I tend to read more fantasy based or witchy or something like that middle grade novels, and I couldn't really find that many, but I did find this one. This is called A Bite Above the Rest. This is coming out August 6th. And this is a fantasy book. Look at this cute little cover. It just, oh, it looks so cute. The synopsis says, a boy moves to a Halloween themed town. Halloween themed town? I'm already sold. When Caleb's mom decides they are moving to her childhood home in Wisconsin, Caleb is not thrilled. Moving schools, states, and time zones would be bad enough, but mom's hometown is Samhain, a small and ridiculously kitschy place where every day is Halloween. Can I live there? I would not complain. Caleb is not a fan of Halloween when it only happens once a year, so Halloween obsessed Samhain is really not the place for him. How is he supposed to cope with kids wearing costumes to school every single day? I can. And how about the fact that the mayor is so committed to the bit that the city hall is only open from sundown to sun up to accommodate his so-called vampirism? This is so cute. Sure enough, Caleb becomes an outcast at school for refusing to play along with the spooky tradition like the other 6th graders. Luckily, he manages to find a friend in fellow misfit Ty, and just in time because things are getting weird in Samhain, or make that weirder. But there's no way the mayor is an actual vampire, and their teacher absolutely cannot really be a werewolf, right? Caleb discovers Samhain is so much stranger than he ever could have imagined. As one of the only people who realizes what's happening, can he save a town that doesn't want saving? Okay, I'm so excited for this middle grade novel. Halloween town place called Samhain? Yes, please. Yes. Do yourself a favor and read middle grade. Just do it. You'll thank me later. Just do it, please. All right, friends, that is all the list that I have for you for 2024 most anticipated book releases. Again, these are my anticipated book releases, which I'm so excited for. If you loved this long chatty video about book recommendations, please like, subscribe, engage with this video. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you are planning on reading any of these books, please let me know which ones you're reading down below in the comments. Let me know if you would like to see more book video recommendations like these. I actually really love doing these. These are super fun. So with that being said, friends, this is all I have for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and until then, friends, take care and I will see you soon. Bye for now.